Okay, this is the third video for the Craftsman King Seeley bandsaw. And again, a specific discussion on bearings. What you're looking at, this one up here, that actually is the one that I pounded out of the machine. And as you can see, I actually destroyed the outside bearing retainer, but I got it out and I thought no big deal. I actually, the day after I did that, I called the guy that supplies the tires for the bandsaw wheels, and I explained to him my situation. I asked him if he sold those bearings. He said, no, I don't. And he said, I said, well, what can I do? And he said, I think you're going to have to throw away that bandsaw and find another one because those things just are not available. I'm not somebody that takes defeat quite that lightly. So I started looking around at what I could do, and then I talked to a guy that does my motorcycle engines, and I showed that thing to him. He said, oh, that's a water pump bearing. So once I knew exactly what to call it, I hopped on Google and I started looking for water pump bearings, and pretty soon discovered that the size of this thing is relatively standard. Basically, what you're looking at is a through shaft with a 625 OD, and then the bearing OD is like a 1" 180. And then this section here is 1¼ inch. The width of the bearings is 1½ inch, and then might have measured the wrong one. Is it 2 inches? Yeah, 2 inches. So originally I found this one and I thought, well, I'll just make an adapter that screws on here so I can get that flat to screw that on. And then I was going to have to add something on the end, machining and adding, I'll figure out something. And eventually I found, and that's the one that's in the machine now, I found one that was the same length, or a little bit longer. What we ended up doing, but it was blank, meaning it didn't have that flat, didn't have this keyway, and it didn't have the snap ring grooves. But basically what I did is I took that to my engine builder, and he chucked it in the lathe, and we cut a couple snap ring grooves, milled that for the key, and then cut it to length, and then we milled that flat on there where the set bolt goes, or set screw, and cut that to length, and I got it in the housing. Now, this thing is a press fit into the housing here, and I did find a big, what these things are called, truss head screws, and that screw limits how far in this thing can travel. I think when the motor is spinning on the other side, it tends to, the rotation of it probably wants to push this thing in, and that screw keeps it from going in. And we don't have one on the other side. So, in order to get that on, or in, I should say, I did the old freezer trick. I put the bearing in the freezer and then let it sit for a day, and then I was able to tap that thing into the housing. So, and then I have the snap ring groove on it. The next step will be to heat up the hub section that on the drive pulley and get that thing pushed on and lined up with that key. So you can get the bearings, and I actually was thinking today that if you even wanted maybe an easier process, is you could just buy a piece of 625 ground stock in that length, and then find some sealed bearings, which are 625 ID and an 1" 180 OD, and maybe put a stack of them there. And then to hold them in place, you could just do a snap ring groove, put a snap ring on either side, and then you'd have what you need to do to put back into your bandsaw. So there's a couple different ways to go at it, but basically I solved my problem, and the bandsaw is going back together. So I just ordered an operations manual. I have a little hard time figuring out how this adjuster is supposed to screw in there. That nut acts like it should stay put, but it's not going to. I'll get that figured out. But the bandsaw is going back together. So hopefully, oh, and before we go again, these were the original bearings that were on the top. Those things just tap in. Those are just a light tap fit. So hopefully that helps on the restoration of your old Craftsman King Seeley bandsaw. These are great looking machines and heavy duty as all get out, and I can't wait to get this thing running. So like, share, comment, subscribe. Happy to answer any questions, and good luck with your machine. Thanks.